And welcome back to Bits and Bobs. Today we're going to be talking about obverse variations on coins. This is important for the completionist collector and how to better ID your coins, as well as the history. We're going to be talking about the latest iteration of pre-decimal coinage from the recoinages between 1860 and 1971, and we're going to be going as best as we can in denomination order. Starting with Victorian copper coins, we see here a Victorian penny with the second portrait of Victoria. Notice the width of the neck is quite thin, and there's the whole bead visible here. However, if we look at the updated portrait, which may look similar at first glance, but we see now that the neck is much wider and the brooch is only just visible. That is a variation on the two obverses of the Queen Victoria second portrait. Just remember, we're not going to go over every portrait of every monarch, just the variations between the same portrait that people might not have noticed on their coins. Next up is this, a very famous coin, the godless florin. If we have a look here at a normal Gothic florin, we see the DG and FD. DG stands for Di Gratia, and FD stands for Fide Defender, Defender of the Faith. Now, these are religious links that have been on coins for very, very long, and is still on coins to this day. So when it was omitted from this coin, the then very religious population became very angry with this coin, seeing it as a sin. The obverse was quickly changed, of course, to the one I showed you earlier, but that is a one-year obverse variation on the Gothic florin. Victoria had many portraits over her long reign, and there may well have been even more variations. If you know of any others, please comment down below. But next up is Edward VII. Edward VII didn't reign long, and this was the only portrait used on the obverse of his coins. However, next up, George V, there's a lot to go through. First off is the 1911 hollow neck variant. So, this is the normal portrait of George V, and here is the hollow neck variant. Now, given the title, you can see this neck is quite filled out, and not chubby, but just quite full, whereas this one's had parts removed, making the neck look more hollow. Also, you can see that this is a less curved and more flat nape of the neck, whereas on here it's more curved down, pointing towards the bottom of the coin more. This is a rarer variant, and one definitely to look out for. Speaking of rarer variants, next up is the 1915 and 16 broken tooth recessed ear variant. Now this is ghosting on a coin. You can see the king's portrait from the other side, where you're not meant to. To help combat this, they recessed the ear. Notice on the left, the normal portrait, and on the right, the recessed ear. You can see it's been recessed into the coin to help stop ghosting. Also, on these coins, one of the top teeth is broken. Every broken tooth error has the recessed ear, and every recessed ear error has the broken tooth. They're a pair. Next up is the big and small head of George V, another way to combat ghosting. Here's the user portrait on the left as always, and then here is the smaller portrait on the right. This one's fairly easy to spot, but just look at the nape of the neck again. This one coming down to the letter G, this one not yet reaching the G as it's a smaller portrait of his head. And there we go, there's the obverse variations of George V. Next up, George VI, who only used two obverses during his time as king. This is the first one, and notice here it says Ind Imp, which means Emperor of India. However, on the second obverse type, it does not say that anymore, as he was no longer Emperor of India. They're the two obverses to look out for. It's worth noting that it said Ind Imp on the reverse of all the silver coins, but rather than just removing the Ind Imp, they got whole new designs, each of them. Next up is Queen Elizabeth II, our current monarch. Let's first take a look at the 1953 unique obverse. 1953 was the first year the Queen appeared on coins, and this was the obverse used. Notice the Brit Om Latin inscription on both of these coins. However, on all future pre-decimal coins of Elizabeth II, this was removed. Now you can no longer see it on these coins. Though not rare, 1953 coins are special because they have the unique obverse of pre-decimal Elizabeth II. It was even gone from the gold sovereign. Now the Queen has had 70 years of portraits. In fact, she even holds the Guinness World Record for the most reproduced face. So as you can imagine, there are tons of portraits, especially because the Royal Mint began making commemorative coins with special commemorative portraits. So stay tuned for a future video, every coinage portrait of Elizabeth II. But as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Bits and Bobs.